In this video, I'll be using Blender to model, rig, and animate these cats, and then I'm going to import them into Unreal. So I have a new Blender project, and I have screencast keys enabled. I'm going to start by getting rid of all this default stuff. Now I'm going to bring in some reference images. I have a side reference, and I'll make the rotation and position with Alt R and Alt G. And now I'm going to rotate it around, so I'll do RZ90. And then I want to rotate it around Y, so RY90. Do that, I'll just do GX. Alright, now I'm going to bring in a reference image for the front view. And I'll take the rotation out with Alt R and the position out with Alt G. Now I'm going to rotate this around X with RX90. And then I'll move it back with GY. And one other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this image and go into side view with 3, and I'm going to make it so the feet are level with the Y axis, like this. And I'll do something similar for the front view. And then I'm going to move this image up along the Z axis. So now I'm going to create a cube, and I'll do that with Shift A, and I'll select the cube, and I'm gonna go into side view, and I'll move up the cube to about the center, and I'll scale it in some. And then I'll go to front view, and I'm gonna move this image some so it's more centered. So now I'll go back into side view. I'll turn on X-ray and wireframe mode. I'm gonna go to edit mode with the cube selected, and I'm gonna start lining these vertexes up with the sketch I've done here. And I'll do an extrusion by grabbing the 2 vertices. Now for this leg, what I'm going to do is I want it to have 2 faces, so I'll do one up to the tail like this, and then I'll move this back some, and I'll select these 2 vertices and then do one more. I can move this one along a little bit. And same for the front leg, I want to have 2 faces on the bottom of the front leg as well. Okay, now I'll move up to the neck. I'll do another extrusion up to the back of the ear. And I'm gonna do this so that I will have a face to create the ear with. This is gonna be kind of hard to grab these 2 vertices, so what I'll do is I'll just grab these 2 here and press H. And I want to do this with box select, or else I won't grab the back of the other vertice on the other side. So I'll select these and do an extrusion. And then to bring those back, I'll do Alt H. And I'm gonna line this up. And I'll grab these 2 vertices and go to the forehead. And I'll do another one up to about the start of the nose. And then I'll do one more for the nose. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm going to grab the whole object with A, and I'm going to apply a modifier called Auto Mirror. If you want to use this, just go to Edit, Preferences, and then search Auto, and then I have it here, Auto Mirror enabled. So to access that, you can press N, go to Edit, Auto Mirror, and do Auto Mirror. If this doesn't work, it could be that you need to apply rotation and scale. And to do that, you would just go to object mode and then do Control A and then say rotation and scale. But now that I have this, I'll press N to get rid of this menu. Now I'm going to shape the face some. To do that, I'm going to grab these side faces here. And do G, X, and bring them in like this. And I'll grab this edge here and I'll bring it out some. Now that I've done that, I'm going to start working on the legs. And what I want to do for the legs to make things a little bit easier is I want to select all these and make sure I'm in X-ray and wireframe mode. And then press H to hide them. And I want to hide these lines here too. I want to add another loop cut, so I do Control R. And I'm going to move this in some. So this loop cut will be for the ear and for the legs. So here will be the ear, and then I'll do the legs down here. So I'll go into face select and grab these two faces here. Then I'll go into side view with 3, and I'll do an extrusion down to about where the leg joint is. And I'm gonna go to vertex select mode, and I'll start lining this up. And I'm gonna create a joint here for the knee. And I'm just doing this by making multiple extrusions. And then I'll do one more down to the foot. And I'll do one more extrusion here. And actually I need one more. Now that I've done that, I'll go into front view with 1. I'm going to grab this image actually by going into object mode and bringing it down some so it's more level with my side view image. I'll go to G and Z and bring it down slightly like that. Okay, and now I'll go back into edit mode with my cube selected, and I want to move this side in and up some, and I'll move this side, these vertices up as well, and I'll grab these and move them in, and do these as well. And move this up to, I want it to be around the joint, like where the hip would be. Okay. So now that I've done that, I want to go into solid mode and make sure I haven't broken anything with the vertices. So it doesn't look like I've done it too much damage. I might move this one in some with GX. Yeah. just whenever you're selecting a bunch of vertices like that in wireframe mode, you don't know what you're actually changing sometimes. This is kind of, so I'll select this here and fix this a little bit because it's kind of sticking out some. And I'll select this one as well and move it with GX so it's kind of in. Then I can move it up a little bit so it's more level. Okay, so that's good enough for now for the front legs. And now I'll bring everything back with Alt H, the back. And I want to do the same thing for the back legs. I'll go into X-ray and wireframe mode, and I'll select all this and hide it with H. And I want to do a loop cut for the leg as well, so I'll do a Control R, and I'll scoot this in some, and then I'll select the two back faces here, and then I'll go into side view. So now I'm going to go into front view with 1 and line this part up. Okay, now I'll go back into solid mode and see what I've done. Um, I mean, it looks okay. I can tweak things a little bit. Now I'll bring everything back with Alt H. And one thing I can do is I'm going to bring this part here up some. I'll do G and then I'll do Z and move it up some like this. Grab this edge here. I'll grab these two and do GG to kind of bring it down. And then do GG again to kind of bring it up some. So kind of rounds the shape out some. Yeah, so now that's a little bit more round. I can work on the tail. So for the tail, I'll just select this face here in the back. Go into side view. And I'll do X-ray and wireframe. And then I'll do an extrusion. And go into vertex select mode. Move this back. Okay. And I'll go back into solid mode. And now I'm going to do the ear. So for the ear, I'm going to select this face here, this one as well. And then I'll do an extrusion to bring it up. And now I'll go into edge select, and I'm going to turn on normals for my orientation. I'll select this one, and I'll do G, Z to kind of move it forward some. And this one, I'll also do GZ and GZ for this one. Uh, yeah, GZ for this one as well. So it's like this. It's kind of like a cat ear. I'll do a loop cut through the middle, like so. Go into vertex select mode, select this one, and move it up with GZ. Actually, let me turn off the normal, so I'll go to global. And I'll do a GZ here. And I'll bring this one over some. And I can bring this one back with G, and I'll do Y. Now that I have low poly cat, I'm going to give it a material and texture. And to do that, I'll go here to material properties and add new. And I'll just call this cat material. And for the base color, I want to use an image texture. And I'll do new, and I'm going to call this cat picture. Okay. Now that I've done that, I want to go to UV editing. What I'm going to do now is unwrap my cat so I can paint it, and to do that, I'm going to create some seams, and to do that, I'll just select around the tail. I'll create one for the tail itself. Press U to mark seam, and I'll make some seams for the legs. So I'll just select these edges around the leg, and I'll say U mark seam, and then I'll do a seam down going down the back, and I'll do one for the head, and I'll do one around the ears as well. And before I unwrap this, I'm going to select everything with a go to mesh and do cleanup and merge by distance, just to make sure that's right. And then I'll also do shift in to make sure my normals are right. And once I've done that, I'll select the cat with A, then do U, and then do unwrap. Okay. So, well, the way they unwrap them, things kind of overlap almost a little bit. So I'm going to scale things down. So I'll select everything and then do S to kind of scale it down some. And if you want to select the individual islands, you can press L on your keyboard, and then it will detect linked things, and then you can move this. So this is one of the legs, and this is the other leg. So I'll just move my legs here. This is the tail, so I'll move that here, and this is the ear. I'll double press A to unselect everything. I'll grab my ear, and I'll put it here. I'm gonna put my ear right here, and then I'll grab the face. This is like a head, and then this is of course the body. I want things to be grouped in a way where I kind of know where it is. Like, okay, here's my legs, this is the tail, this is the face, this is the ear, and then I'll go to texture paint. And then there's a couple ways of doing this. You could just paint directly on the object like this, and that's probably fine in this case. But one thing that could be helpful is you can go to edit mode, select a face like this, and then do Control plus to grab however many faces you want. I'll just grab these two. Then go back to texture paint and click paint mask. So now you can only paint that area, and you can see it here. And I will do a white color, and for my fall off, I'll set it to like a hard brush, like a pencil almost, and then just color this in. So he has like a white tip to his tail. I'll remove that mask. I'm going to soften this edge a little bit because it's a bit pixelated. So let's blend it in a little bit. And I think I'll also give him some paws, like white paws. Uh, so to do that, I'll go edit mode and I'm gonna select the bottom. Actually, let me double press A to make sure I have everything unselected. Select the bottom of the foot for the front one and the bottom of the foot for the back one. So I'll have those two bottoms selected and then I'll do Control plus like this. And then I'll go to back to texture paint, apply the mask, and then I'll just paint over this area with a brush. Now, or you could also just do fill, and it'll know what areas you have selected, so that's kind of convenient too. And now that I've done that, I'll unselect the mask, and I can soften these edges a little bit. And one important thing, you want to make sure your image is saved, or else if you're importing it, it won't be imported to an Unreal or whatever game engine you're using. So I'll just do save as and save it somewhere on my computer. Now I'm going to make some changes to the mesh to help with rigging. I want to add some more loop cuts around the hip. So I'll do just do 3. This will help it bend so it doesn't fold over itself too much. And I'll do the same for the back leg. All right, with that done, I can add one around the neck too. I'm gonna do some around the tail. All right, so now I'm gonna go to object mode, do Shift A, armature, go into object data properties, do in front, go back to edit mode, select the bone, go into side view with 3. We'll just scale this down some. I'll move it in the Z direction, but I'll keep this bone here. This will be the root bone, and I'll name it that. So I'll press F2 and I'll name this root. One thing I'm going to do right now is I want to change this name here. This name is already taken by a variable in Unreal, and it'll cause problems if I don't name it something else. So I'll call it cat rig. I'm going to duplicate this bone and bring it up to the tail. And I'll make the spine. Go up to the neck, and then I'll go to the head. I'm going to move this down a little bit. I'm going to do Shift D, duplicate this bone, and bring it over for the tail. Now I'm going to duplicate a bone and start working on the legs. I can just select these bones and do Shift D and move them over to this leg. Okay, now I'm going to go to front view. Actually, before I go to front view, I'm going to select these bones and press Shift, select these bones, move in the X, and line it up with the center of the cat, like that. And I'll go in front view, and I'm going to move them along the X-axis. Alright, now I'm going to name the legs. And I need to do this because if I'm going to symmetrize the rig so that I only have to do one side, I have to use a certain naming convention where it's the name and .l. So like this, front leg 1.l. Go into side view, make an extrusion here, and call this front leg target .l. Okay, and now I want to make sure things are parented correctly. These target bones you don't want them to be parented to the leg bone, so just do Alt P, clear parent, and I want this bone to be connected to the root bone, so I'll click this one first, and then the root bone, do Control P, keep offset, and I want to parent this to this bone, and this one to this bone, and the tail to this bone. And now I'm going to go in pose mode and make sure things are working the way I want them to. Now I'll set up the IK, and to do that, I'll just select this target bone, then this leg bone, holding shift, then do shift I to active bone, go to bone constraint properties, increase the chain length to 2, and we'll see how that looks. Um, so that's fine, except it's rotating around the y-axis and z-axis, and I really don't want it to do that. So what I can do to fix that is go here, go to inverse kinematics. I only want this to rotate around the x-axis, so I'll lock it in y and z. Now let's see if that, yeah. So now I can't rotate out like that anymore. And now let's set up this one. Okay, with that done, now I'm going to go back to edit mode, select everything, right click, symmetrize, and let me check to make sure this is working properly and see the names, if the names are right. If I click on the names, you'll see that Blender recognizes this convention, and they just took that name I gave and added R to it, which is what I want. Now if I go to object mode, select the cat rig, then select the cube, do Control P with automatic weights, and if I go to pose mode, now that I have a rig, I'm gonna work on an animation. So I'll go to animation, and I'll go to action editor, do new, and I'm gonna call this one idle. So I'm gonna select my skeleton with A, and then do I, and I'm gonna do location and rotation. So this will be the first frame in the idle pose, and then I'm gonna select this auto keying so it will record whatever I do. I'm gonna go to frame 20. I'll select this bone here, I'm gonna have it kind of bend down a little bit like it's breathing. Rotate the head a little bit. And I think I'll bring the tail down a little bit. Let's see how that looks. So it's kind of like he's just breathing. Alright, so I'll select these keys here, do Shift D, and move it to frame 40. And then I'm going to select this and set the end to 39. And I'll see how that looks. Just like he's breathing. So that'll be the idle pose. I'll add my texture. Okay, now I'll click this just to make sure it doesn't get overridden. I'm going to do new action, call it run, create a fake user for it. Alright, for the run pose, I want it to start with him pushing himself off from his back legs. I'll move this to 0. So he starts off launching himself. Alright, now I'm going to move it to about 8. I want it to be pretty close because I want it to be fast. If I spread it out over too many frames, it'll look like he's moving really slow. So now that I have the launching pose, I'm going to do one with him suspended in the air. The next pose will be go forward some, and this will be him landing on his front paws. And now that he's landed on his front paws, his back feet will come down. And I'm gonna have his head looking forward like he's about to launch off again. And then I'll just I'll set the frames to be 20. So let me make sure I have everything selected. I want to select this frame here, Shift D, and then move it to the end. This. I can move it forward a little bit. So now it kind of looks like he's running. Like maybe a cat would, kind of propelling itself on its back feet. One thing I can do that might help out some is select everything and do Shift D, make cyclic. See how that looks. I don't know if it made much difference, but yeah, there's my run animation. Now that I have my animations set up, I'm going to import all this into Unreal. So I'll go to Layout, select everything with A, go to Export, FBX. I'm going to set this to copy selected objects. So I'll select these two. I'll go to Geometry, to Face, go to Armature, uncheck Add Leaf Bones, and go to Bake Animations and uncheck Analyze Strips. I'll press Export FBX. Now I'm going to go into Unreal, to Content, do Import, and this is my file, cat.fbx. Open it, make sure Import Animations is selected, do Import All. Now with that loaded in, I'm going to go to my blueprints and my blueprint for my cat. I'm going to set the skeletal mesh to be the new cat mesh. Compile, save, see how that looks. I'll go to animation blueprint. I'm gonna say assign skeleton. I'm gonna assign a new one. And then I'm gonna go into it. Open this up. I'm going to change these animations. My run animation to run. I'll go to my idle and change it to the new idle. Compile. Go back to my blueprints. Go to BP Cat. Go to my skeletal mesh. Use animation blueprint and use the cat one. Okay. And it's not looping. Okay, so make sure the loop animation is on for both animations. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.